Okay, it's 7 o'clock Mountain Time. This is live, the IPS evening deprogram. And tonight's live stream is entitled The Final LARP. It is the final experiment fake. And I want to address a lot of the skepticism around it, and then we'll discuss the relevant issues that it raises. The questions it answers or doesn't answer. And I'll open up phones in case any of you have something to add to this. So we'll go ahead and get started. I was just watching a video with McToon yelling, like vicious, like angry, from Antarctica, allegedly, on the phone, yelling at Nathan Oakley. Like it was a real dress down. It was probably humiliating, or was meant to be. I mean, these guys are kind of bullies, and they have been this whole time. That's kind of their gig. Is their gig over? Now that they've gone and they've recorded the 24-Hour Sun, does McToon still have a show? What's gonna happen next? But I was thinking about, let's say it was faked. Wouldn't that mean that McToon is a flat earther, but he's working for the other side to conceal it? So if anything, he would just be, I guess you'd call him a shape trader. I mean, that's kind of hard for me to fathom. Now, I can imagine these individuals being 100% dupes, but how could you fake Antarctica? Could you fake it at a small scale? Could you fake an Antarctica base? Well, sure. I mean, you could fake a moon for landing purposes. Yeah, you could. But the scale of fakery is something else altogether. And there was a little bit of talk about, there was a suspicious artifact. It appeared to be the use of green screen in one of the videos that was uploaded. And they addressed the green screen. They debunked the idea by sending a drone across the surface of the ground, so it would give away if there were such a thing. And so I don't think green screen could accomplish what we see in the video. However, if you've seen The Mandalorian and you know about virtual sets where you have 360 surround LED, that really opens the door in terms of fakeability. And some of these LED sets are like airplane hangars, like huge. Sort of like if you've seen Fallout in the bunkers where they live. Diana South says, snow but no breath. Yeah, it didn't look that cold. Look, I didn't see any penguins. That's a red flag for me. Did any of you see any penguins on any of their videos? Get my money back. I'm going that far south. But we'll get into this. Let me go through the list. So no drones, just mass hysteria. And let me point this out too. This drone hysteria. We called it out day one. In fact, we have an axiom here. Let me go ahead and read that, because we dealt with this issue months ago, like a year ago. Okay, here it is. Autohoaxology axiom number 35. Moving lights in the sky are airplanes until proven otherwise. That's a rule of thumb, and I had to institute this because too many people were falsely claiming to have seen space stations, spaceships in the sky. And our new rule here is if you're going to claim that you're seeing a spaceship that is purported to be 300 miles above your head, we need to have two people recording it from two different locations, so we can triangulate and at least rule out that it's only 30,000 feet up, rule out the airplane, but you have to rule out man before you can introduce alien, and you have to rule out airplanes before you rule in mysterious drones. And sort of like the Luigi Mangione story, the drone story has totally saturated. Everybody I know is talking about drones, and they think aliens have landed, or that it's a hidden thing. And then Trump is fed into it. He wouldn't go to Bedminster. He wouldn't go to Jersey. He said there's drones. So this is some kind of a psyop. But what nobody cares to know is that nobody even saw a single drone. The whole thing was fake. And what I wanted to point out here, though, is you can mock the so-called flat earthers because some of them saw what appears to be a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. But this whole drone hysteria was driven entirely by globe earthers, gloobers, non-flat earthers. Say what you will about flat earthers, but they're a little bit skeptical about media psyops. And so this was driven by just normies. So don't think that the normies have any better of a clue. In fact, it's pretty much axiomatic to say that flat earthers know more about heliocentrism than most people who believe in heliocentrism. And it's just because most people don't care. It's out of their purview. It's cosmology, cosmography, big picture stuff. Okay, let's see. And we outsource it. You outsource it to the professionals. Why wouldn't you? Just nobody thinks that the professionals are a bunch of liars. And one other point about the final experiment. It doesn't make fake moon landings real. It doesn't make fake stations real. It doesn't make fake X real. It doesn't vindicate very much, if anything. So we'll talk about this. No drones, just mass hysteria. The final experiment update. There's a new shooter out. So if you're wondering what happens after the drones, since that's over, well, we have a new shooter. And they shot up a Christian school. Let me go ahead and play this clip here.
A few comments on the reports of drone activity here on the East Coast, particularly in and around New Jersey. We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus.
So they've already made this clear, but the story is too good. I think it's too good for people to ignore. And one of the things that I've realized too is that a lot of truthers are clickbait driven. So something I stated today on Twitter is that Trutherville and any concept of a people's media on X has jumped the shark with the drone panic. And you should also consider that anybody who spread, like seriously spread, the idea that there was some kind of a drone invasion, you just have to recognize that they are reality impaired. And what I mean is that their way of processing media is what I'd consider to be passive. They're mind virus carriers, and they're not vetting. Or maybe they are, but their vetting process is really just a matter of determining what's going to get the most clicks. But truth is secondary. This is not new. Okay, so the final experiment, let me go ahead and play this clip. We do have a 24-hour sun video time lapse, and we do have McToon yelling at Oakley. I'll play that. Okay, that one's unavailable. Let me get to McToon, because he's big mad. And I don't understand his anger. I really don't. I don't know why we can't just politely disagree. And this will probably make it more difficult for people to express contrary opinions in the future. So here's McToon under a midnight sun in Antarctica, and he is talking to Nathan Oakley.
Right now, I've got 10 people here with me. I'm looking at the mountains. I'm looking at Mount Rothman right now. South of me, where the sun went overnight last night. Listen to me, Nathan. You said the sun sets. You said that if people tried to go to Antarctica.
Okay, that's crunchy snow. So that would be difficult, I mean, not impossible to fake. But if this is a movie set like The Mandalorian, it's the biggest one ever for the most part. But here he is actually calling Oakley, and Oakley tries to change the subject, but he calls him a liar. Let me know if you think this is too harsh.
You are a liar, Nathan. You are lying, Nathan. The sun did not set for 24 hours. You said it does. You lied, Nathan. You said that I would get turned away at gunpoint. Nathan, you said I would get turned away at gunpoint.
Now, to be fair, many people did say, and probably still say, a lot of them up until recently were saying that you can't go. There are barriers, that the Navy will take you out. And a lot of people have just denied the offers. Alex Jones offered someone to go. Tim Pool offered Alex Stain a chance to go. Nothing came of it. But McToon is out there raging. Look at this, just raging out there on the snow.
The topic, Nathan cannot address the topic of Antarctica. He's a liar.
So there he is, upside down, yelling at Nathan Oakley. All right, let's see who's joined us tonight. We have, wow, already crossed 80 people. Dominic, LAC, down south from D-Live. Probably the only D-Liver. I should probably promote it more. Frugal Snowboard, Matt X, HLG, Ted Stryker, thanks for joining. Reverse History, Sharon Peters, Clockwork 113, Shed Dog, Lean Dion, ADR says no penguins, they were too far inland. What are the penguins going to eat? Snow? Right. It's a little too much to ask. Oh, we got penguins here, and they have these new penguins. They're like the size of water bottles, and they're blue. Unbelievable swimmers. I mean, you can mock them for their waddle, but underwater, they swim like birds fly, like most birds fly. Shed Dog says, could you talk a bit softer? X322, thanks for joining. Patricia Steer. And we're going to go through all the different views on this, but I'm very curious to see what people think about this. Patricia Steer says, now they say there's some hidden room in the health guy who got Shot's mansion and there were writings like Luigi's writings. Okay, I'll have to check that out. So in the guy's mansion, you mean the CEO? Okay, that story's still around. It got drowned out by drones, but the drones have been quelled, and now there's another shooter. And I don't know. I'm hanging. At first, someone said it was another trans shooter like Audrey Hale, but I didn't take the bait. That was promoted by Tim Pool, so I said no. Let's wait, and I was vindicated. It's not true. What is true is the shooter in the photo is wearing a KMFDM shirt, which is a direct tie-in to multiple shooters like Littleton. There are some connections with the Littleton shooters in that band. Not that I'm blaming the band because these things are fake, but these are just part of the manifesto, part of the aesthetics, the props. And it just so happens to be that KMFDM is a favorite band among school shooters. Isabel Ann says, there's a disturbing amount of fanfare for Luigi. It has to be flooded by Langley. Yeah, but I think there's maybe it's a false moral equivalency, but there's one that's been made between Luigi and Daniel Penny. So Luigi, righteous, class warrior, vigilante to the left, takes down CEO, and he's a hero, but then he goes to jail. On the same day, Daniel Penny, who's a murderer and an oppressor to the left, but a savior and a hero to the right because he strangled a black man to death in the subway, is considered to be it's like one side villainizes him, one side treats him as a hero. But this guy was elevated to the point where he's hanging out with J.D. Vance and Donald Trump at that Navy game. Daniel Penny, like another Derek Chauvin hanging out with the president. So if you look at that, that's the right wing falling in love with a character that, I'm not saying it's equivalent. Daniel Penny killing Jordan Neely and then Luigi killing the CEO, but these are equivalencies that are manufactured. There's a reason why they had this switch on the same day. Diana South says McToon seems to be under mental duress. Agreed. Well, he's mad. Globe derangement syndrome. Has nothing to do with the shape of the world or any debate. It's something else. Joined by Salty Siren. Thanks for joining. Nick Fingar. Yeah, McLoon. Well, okay, I listened to a podcast last night. It was Jim Brewer, the comedian. And I don't know if it was fair. They kind of ripped on Dearth. So Jim Brewer had Dearth on, deep inside the rabbit's hole. And what the rabbit hole guy is about is the Flat Earth app, which is invalidated by the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. So Jim Brewer, this comedian, had a conversation with Dearth a couple of months ago. And just a few days ago, Craig from Fight the Flat Earth and McToon went on Jim Brewer's podcast, and I listened to it. And not only were they just ripping on Dearth the whole time, calling him a liar, undoing any damage they may have done, or he may have done, as far as convincing Jim Brewer the Earth was flat, because that's how they see them. They're doing damage control. So they're trying to walk him back, which they do successfully, and then McToon raps. He's got a whole rap. So it's not McToon, it's MC Tune. And he had a Dearth rap, and I would play it, but it's a paywalled Patreon thing. I actually paid Patreon a couple dollars because I wanted to hear it, but I listened to it, and they're definitely gloating. Matt X says the audio is popping too loud. Okay, I'll see if I can fix it. Lieutenant Weinberg says, Tim, how tall are you? Good question. Do I answer? try to keep it away from anything that might make me identifiable in public. I got to be incognito. That's why Tim Pool wears his beanie. He says that he never takes it off because if he wants to blend in public and not be recognized as somebody from the internet, he can just take his hat off. You've never seen him without it. Lane Dion says, Fight the Flat Earth might have the most annoying voice in the arena. Okay, so I think the mic is having issues. A lot of people are complaining about it. Let me turn it down. All right, let's continue. I think it's fine. So we're listening to McToon. He's mad. Insulting Nathan Oakley from Antarctica during the midnight sun. You are a liar, Nathan, echoing off the mountains of Antarctica. Now, Nathan can take it. If you've listened to any of his debates, he dishes it out, so he can take it. I'm sure he's taken this in stride. I don't know how he's going to confront it. Any of you? Any of you have any thoughts on this whole thing? Now you can barely hear me. Okay, I'm just going to leave it where it is, and then we'll work on fixing it later. So drones are over, school shootings are in. We talked about autohoaxology, Axiom 35. Okay, here's Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is concerned about drones now. Okay, here we go. So there's a CEO of a drone manufacturing company who has government contracts, and he has this idea that what's really going on right now is that there is a missing nuke, and the drones are going around attempting to detect radiation. So that's what it's really about.
Unmanned aircraft, as you can see, one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong.
You are wrong, because no drones were proven to exist. Not a single one. But he's talking about here how the drones can be used by the military to go detect things, specifically radiation, gas, anything like that.
From what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some.
Anyway, this is a concern to Joe Rogan, and so this message has been blasted out to 22 million people. The sum of all fears, and sum of all fears, Tom Clancy predicted programming for 9/11. Drones may be looking for Ukrainian nuclear warhead that has entered the United States of America. So the code name that they use whenever they talk about a missing nuke is a broken arrow. And we've been talking about this broken arrow scenario here for a couple of years because it's been alluded to ever since the Artemis mission, Artemis the Archer and the crack in the rocket. We were talking about this theme coming up of a broken arrow as it relates to this unfolding PSYOP. And it turns out that so far there have been 32 broken arrow incidents. So we've been waiting since last Super Bowl for the 33rd of the broken arrows. And so this could be it. Trump said, the government knows what's happening. Something strange is going on. The drone panic demonstrates a couple of things. It reiterates things for those of us who've already been aware of this. But one thing it does is it says we cannot blindly trust eyewitnesses. You can't anyway, especially not on the internet. And then two, alternative media is 99% clickbait sensationalism. And you can attempt to prove me wrong, but if you find any truther channel with more than a few thousand subs, the bigger I mean, even Fox News was doing this. The bigger the channel, the more likely they were promoting this, which means they have no standards of evidence. So here's this New Jersey guide to aircraft identification that's floating around. And it basically has every type of plane, private plane, military jet that you could possibly see, and each one is labeled drone. And this is accurate. And I mentioned this day one. I said this is a psyop. These are hyperstitions. They don't exist. And this is a great example of the simulation. We have the mental map of the world, and then there's a real thing. And the mental map of the world, if you don't guard it, if you don't proactively fumigate it for lies that are being inserted from without, you will live in a hyperstition enhanced reality. So I know people who believe that there's some kind of drone invasion, others who believe there's some kind of a UFO cover-up. But every person I know who's talked about this has started with the premise that a lot of people are seeing something. And what I said from the beginning is we have no indication or any evidence that any drone has actually been sighted. And where you would expect there to be evidence, like the internet, social media, it was just a lot of people posting fake accounts, fake news. And the community notes are the only reason why we even have a slight grasp on this. So the public has mind aids, no critical thinking, no mental immune system, and they will just spread and spread and spread anything. I mean, we all know. I mean, we lived through 2020. AutoSad says, been a long time since I caught you live. Oh, good. Yes. The Blue Wrench Club is still going strong. If you're on the original account, then you've got one of the original Blue Wrenches. But right now we're at the phase of auto hoax accelerationism. And I look at the destruction of various truth or orthodoxies as progress, because we're trying to liberate a lot of these corralled minds and get them directed into media fakery deconstruction, which is what our focus has been here for a long time. Glad you could make it. Yeah, if you want to call about the parallax view, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, auto hoax everything. Fake until proven real. And if somebody has a problem with that, you should say, well, I mean, you should say, why doesn't the media provide the evidence themselves? It's their burden of proof. Like, you're not under an obligation to believe. You can disbelieve by default, especially now, as deep fakeable as everything is. I mean, I speak as someone who watches the news critically all the time, and I always attempt to remain aware of real versus fake, and I got fooled by a whale-sized clownfish, which don't exist, but I saw it, and it was on TikTok, and I thought it was real because I didn't say it's fake until proven real. I didn't do my due diligence. Luckily, somebody in the chat saved me. AutoSat says, I'm the artist formerly known as Habbake. I used to go under the name Hangnail. Oh, okay, cool. I'd be interested to see what you think about the 24-hour sun experiment, since you've been following this for a long time. Good to see you here. And the original IPS YouTube channel was shut down in 2017, and I just got it back a couple months ago. And I got it back because I wrote a insincere apology to YouTube at 3 a.m., and they took it seriously. So I got that channel back. So there's a lot of people, I think, that maybe thought we were shut down, which we weren't. We've just been on the move. Dominic says, whatever you used to have, you cannot rely on anymore. Move on, invent something in the mind to be real again. Well, from the beginning, we said infinite plane, because I said, no, it's premature to start with the model, to have, oh, this is the model, this is the world, it's a donut, it's a dome, it's a whatever. And people had these various concepts, but someone said it was like a simulation, and they're mapping out how it works. So that's fine. But without investigation, without new information, you're not going to get an accurate picture. It's all speculation. And at this point, it's 2024. There's no excuse for not putting information first. And there was a common misconception that you can't go to Antarctica. And that was really the standard. Nobody thought it was even possible until just somebody recently. Conspiracy Alarmist said, could Emmett Till have grown up to become Martin Luther King Jr.? Face, strong resemblance, and the ages line up. I've never heard that, but it would be interesting. I mean, Emmett Till was like the original Trayvon Martin, or Trayvon Martin was a new Emmett Till, kicked off the civil rights, and they insisted on an open casket so people could see the destruction of racism, because his face, it was just a horrible look, and it looked fake to me. So I think that was a psyop. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'll have to check the ages. If you go to infiniteplane.live, it takes you right to the live stream. Infiniteplane.live. And then ips.monster has a list of all the different places you can listen, as well as the various podcasting platforms that we're on. I'm trying to get the audio encoder started because we have another body of people who listen on TuneIn and radio.net, which have these audio-only feeds. Laura Loomer says, we're truly headed towards becoming a country of full-blown digital surveillance. So this is someone who chases fame. She's a clickbaiter, a sensationalist, and she attempts to insert herself into everything. And she's worried about full-blown digital surveillance. Anything for attention. Last time I watched her show, she was eating dog food. So I'm like, what do you mean? We self-surveil with every app we access, with every social media account we post on. That's all we do. Social media is effectively a thought-reading machine. 1984 came true. They used various tactics of perception management and propaganda, and they conditioned us to adopt a lifestyle that lauds the sacrifice of privacy and instead encourages total transparency, where now everything, even your blood, is a matter of public interest to know what's in it. And soon it's going to get into what's on your browser history, what's on your mind. Joe Rogan thinks that drones are searching for a missing nuke. So here's the reference. Since 1950, there have been 32 nuclear weapon accidents known as broken arrows. A broken arrow is an unexpected event involving nuclear weapons. So we're waiting for broken arrow number 33. Some are hopeful this could have been it. United Healthcare's suspect, Luigi and Sean Diddy. This is interesting. Luigi Mangione and Sean Diddy's lawyers are married. This kind of suggests that the Diddy story is also fake, because you'll notice like there's one individual who does the autopsies for all the dead, the fake deaths. The guy who did George Floyd also did, I believe, I got a list of them. Let's see how far it goes back. His name was Dr. Bader. So the coroner who did George Floyd, did he do Ramsey? It's a whole list of famous names this guy did. I'll see if I can pull it up here. We'll get back to that. AngstG says, is Keith Olbermann a Poe on the left? Oh, interesting question. Because I've been saying for some time that there are no Poes on the left. The parodies of extremism. Like there's no leftist Nick Fuentes, who obviously doesn't believe what he says, nor does he live it. But rather, he's paid to say these things because he's a provocateur. But when it comes to the left wing, I don't think you need Poes. You can find endless numbers of people on the left who are just willing to stand up for murdering CEOs. They're unashamed about it. And these aren't people being paid to say extreme things. Show me some right-winger, some white right-wing influencer talking about murdering the left or murdering in general. I mean, I understand they're cheerleading Daniel Penny, but this Luigi worship is next level. And is Keith Olbermann a Poe? You know, he could be at this point. It could just be his brand, the histrionics, and it's just a character thing. Like, how could you care that much? I mean, maybe he really does, but imagine how sadly insulated you'd have to be. Like, I know all this stuff's fake, so I can't get engaged with it. I couldn't pretend to care. Angst says connected psyops that refer to other psyops. Yes, that's something that we are looking at with this present shooter, where it appears to be the KMFDM shirt, and I'll pull this up so you can see what I'm talking about, would be an allusion to the Littleton shooters. And that shooting had some connections to the Matrix movie, KMFDM, and the Matrix. And I'm not saying that this is a factor, but if you remember at the time, it's kind of like the satanic panic thing. It's kind of in the same line of thinking here. But this particular band has been consistent with it. And so, oh, by the way, there was a drill going on. So multiple dead. We'll talk about this particular shooter with the KMFDM shirt, which is a band. And the song was like Stray Bullet and some other song that the Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris had referenced in their manifesto. So here's the shooter. Falsely identified as trans by the right from Tim Pool on down. I don't know why. The trans shooter to them is like the bowl cut shooter to the left. But it's a fiction. And they fall for it every time, and then they sound crazy when the facts come out. You gotta wait. It's truth or bait every single time. But so you have this multiple fear dead in Wisconsin, active shooter, Abundant Life Christian Church, well, 3 miles away. As this was happening, 3 miles away, there was a shooting drill going on. And they were able to get some of the participants in that. So here's the story. This is from CNN. Medics were training nearby when school shooting happened. How convenient. You know, there were 88 drills going on 9/11/2001. It's too bad they weren't of any use. But it certainly explains how you could have such a large closed movie set. I mean, that's a lot of drills, a lot of mass casualty simulations. Surprised no mass casualty simulation performers were killed on 9/11. I mean, that's how saturated the whole scene was with essentially actors. So medics were training nearby when the school shooting happened. Madison, Wisconsin police departments were conducting training drills nearby before they responded to the shooting. They left the training center immediately, came down here, and did in real time what they were actually practicing for. So they were already in costume. He said the training center is 3 miles from the Abundant Life Christian School, and first responders gave them life-saving measures. That's why it's so important to make sure we can provide the best training and response for our community members. You know how many examples that we have like this? One of the greatest examples is the one in Thousand Oaks, where 50 people got shot at the Borderland Bar and Grill. And these 50 were actually victims and survivors of the Vegas shooting 13 months prior. But during the second shooting that they were hit at, when they were being shot at, there was a drill down the street. And this is the part that the media called eerie. The drill down the street from the second shooting was based on Vegas, based on a concert shooting, and had 50 people. So the identical number of people that were actually being shot at. So what's more likely? That there was actually a drill going on at this event involving the same people from this other event, or that the drill was reported as such even though they decided to do it live, which is what it looks like. Okay, phones are open. Not sure why they're not answering. If you want to try one more time. Sometimes the first couple times it just goes straight to voicemail. I think I fixed it. Okay, Patricia Steer says, my Vietnamese manicure guy told me there's mysterious drones in Vietnam now, too. Family sent him videos, probably planes. People believe in the news and seeing planes as drones. Yeah, Mick West has done a great job on explaining the misconceptions that people have. So an airplane at a certain distance, depending on its holding pattern, as a light, it's kind of difficult to tell how far away it is. And that assumes that people are being intellectually honest, or they're not just spreading hype. And that's why I don't trust people when they say to me, I just saw Starlink satellites. Or maybe it's just an airplane. I don't know. Or I think I saw the ISS. It might have been an airplane. I don't know. They kind of shoehorn it in there. Like maybe it was this, maybe it wasn't. And in this case, they've given the public permission to basically treat every light in the sky as one of the drones, and now they're a witness. Far fewer drone UFO sightings tonight, and that's because clouds have blocked airplanes, stars, and planets. Yeah, because Venus was mistaken by ABC News as a drone, as an orb. An orb? That's what they said it was, an orb. So what is an orb? It's just like this UFO terminology. An orb is just like a light in the sky that you can't identify. But they believe whatever they want to believe, and that's why I say that you have to assume it to be an airplane until proven otherwise. Stephen Greenstreet said, be on the lookout for my New York Post video report on the drone hysteria. I expect to solve a lot of these mystery drones, this guy's in the New York Post, and calm people down. Alex Jones was going crazy about it. He said it was World War III. Let me play this clip here. So we were talking about, could this thing have been faked in Antarctica? And I was thinking about the idea that we're looking at some kind of like movie set with LED screens everywhere. And interestingly enough, when Jared landed there and he got out and he started talking about what he was saying, he kind of suggested it was strange how the mountain and the glacier, although miles away, looked so close he could touch them. And I thought, could this be a virtual set? Let me play this clip.
And it's supposedly going to go behind this mountain here, if you can see it, which, I mean, this is crazy. I know you can't see it good on the screen. That mountain looks like it's right there. Looks like you can just touch it, but they say it's like a few miles away. They say that let me show you see if you can see the glacier. So you see the glacier, I can't tell what's behind me, behind that sign. So the glacier that's right behind the sign right there is 10 miles away. This looks as clear as could be right there. You can see it.
Okay, so he's laughing, and he's pointing out these features that are miles and miles away but look close. And I thought, this sounds like Duper's Delight, and they're in some kind of enclosure with an LED background. Now, before you think this sounds crazy, I want to point out, too, that at the very beginning, they talked about this green screen evidence, and they spent a day debunking it. Well, I thought that could be misdirection, because nobody uses green screen anymore. So this is something you should be apprised of.
As technology evolves, so
in terms of fakeability, virtual sets are now the standard over green screen. And what is a virtual set? It is a totally immersive surround screen, and it's not all that dissimilar from rear screen projection, but here we go. It's so immersive that when you're in the scene all around, you're not reacting to a green screen pretending to see something. You really see what's in the background, only it's pretty close, or relatively, depends on the size. And so I've been looking into these, and I found that there are some of these studios that are so huge you could fit 737s inside. So here's from The Mandalorian.
On a green screen. So you can really make it feel like the characters are embedded in their environments.
This green screen spill would have been an even bigger problem than usual for The Mandalorian, whose main character gets a shiny new suit of armor early on in the season.
Now, the shining suit of armor accurately reflects what's in the environment because it's not merely a green screen. There's not a lot of post-production compared to green screen use. And if you need a green screen, you can project it onto the background in one of these studios. So I'm just pointing out that there are these things called virtual sets, and if they're going to fake a moon base, if they're going to fake a Mars base, this is how you would do it. And it is therefore within the realm of possibility that you could fake an Antarctica base. Not saying this one is fake, but it could be if you had an incentive or you're making a movie perhaps.
Constructed for season 1 was 75 feet in diameter, 21 feet high, and also had a roof composed of LEDs. The cast and crew...
Even a roof composed of LEDs. Hey, what's up, caller?
Hey, this is Nick Finger.
Oh, hey, what's up, Nick Finger? Thank you for calling.
Hey, yeah. I'm kind of losing my voice today, but I just wanted to make a couple quick comments. I know you've been following the Antarctica thing. One, so my experience, I don't think that we're all seeing the sun in the same place. Like, I think that it's relative to our viewpoint. Just like if you're standing at the beach at the sunset, there's like lines of light that you can see in the water that come straight to your feet. And if somebody's standing 20 feet down the beach, they're not seeing the lines coming to your feet. They're seeing the lines coming to their feet. And I know your opinions of David Weiss, but he made a pretty good video one time with, have you ever seen the video where he's got a sheet up in the room and several feet behind the sheet, he has a flashlight pointed at the sheet, and when the camera is on one side of, like, say, over to the left side of the sheet, he makes an X where you see the flashlight, and then you walk over to the right side of the sheet, and you're looking at the same flashlight, but where you're seeing the light is at a different spot. You make an X there. And, I mean, I think that's relative to how we see the sun. And, you know, I don't know how to, I mean, I know we see too far for it to be a ball the size that they say it is.
Well,
I don't know exactly how to write.
One thing that is kind of, I think this is kind of hamstrung the conversation from the beginning, is this idea that there is a comparable or a complete model that you could compare to the globe and say this one competes with it, but have it based on the presupposition of one sun making this circuit every day. And so that is sort of a straw man that has kind of hindered the entire conversation this whole time. So I'm more interested in other ideas that could possibly explain it, because if you're not starting with the presupposition of an object in space, then the movements of the stars, the sun, the planets, the lights above, wouldn't be described as orbits. So we're not even talking about the same type of physics. So it's kind of
right.
So
yeah.
I see what you mean, but
I agree with you there. The whole coffee cup caustic thing is interesting to me, where you can model seeing. I mean, if you have a glass dome with a flashlight going around it, there are certain parts, depending on where you position the light, there are ways to light up the whole thing. There's ways to get it where you get a reflection of the light going back the other direction when you hit a certain point. So, I mean, I don't think it completely cancels out. I don't think that it automatically makes the Earth a round ball floating in space. But, it is interesting.
yeah, I'm still saying shape agnosticism. I mean, at this point, my focus is always, and it still remains, media fakery, where we get our information from. And people are right to be skeptical about the specific group of people they sent. Very biased on each side. And then, Jaron did ISS transits. And however you want to explain that away, you can't rule out the fact
he already sounds like that he's jumping onto the ball side. Where I think, Whitsitt is more like, and I mean, honestly, like, I feel that Whitsitt is more honest, and that even if Jaron's an agent or a shill, that maybe possibly Whitsitt is just kind of caught up in it.
Well, I would say that the debate has always been a false dilemma, a false dichotomy, that they use the either or fallacy. So it's like, if you can't defend this straw man, you must believe all of our stuff. And my problem with that is, you can't just suddenly say, well, therefore, the space station is real, because it's not. Therefore, SpaceX is real and everything else. So there's still a disconnect here. And what they never talk about in the debates is special effects. It's always been the elephant in the room. Did science get us to the moon, or was it rear screen projection? And that's a huge blind spot.
I get what you're saying, But I mean, I feel like that Whitson has called out a lot of the special effects stuff. I mean, with the giant swimming pool and the giant green screen and all that. I mean, he's talked about that a lot. And I mean, he has often, talked about, like, it was his prediction before 2020 that that Trump was a actor on the world stage and that he would be installed as president. I mean, he thought that Trump was going to win in 2020. But
well, look, he may be well apprised of the media fakery, but I'm saying that media fakery was never made a central component of the debates. You can never get these individuals like McToon or Fight the Flat Earth to debate it because they don't even include it as a possibility. They think that mentioning special effects is an argument from incredulity or something like that. And that is something that renders these debates intellectually dishonest. And it's just because of their lack of education in the matter. They're that ignorant. And you combine that with their arrogance, and they're never going to quite get it. So even if you could convince everybody that the Earth is a spinning ball, heliocentrism, and everything else, it doesn't make the space travel real either. And I still question, like, even if so, is orbit real in the sense they describe? Orbiting satellites, low Earth orbit. So there's too many other questions that I don't think are automatically answered by whatever they just did.
I agree. 100%. All right, well, I'll get off the line. Thanks for taking my call, and keep on doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, call back anytime. Appreciate it very much. Nick Vingar, have a great night. Someone, I think it was Salty Siren, said it looked like sand out there. Yeah, I didn't see them building any snowmen or anything, but, I mean, there's a point here where we have to wait. We have to see all their evidence. We can't prematurely call it. But skepticism is well-founded based on who went, their previous history. And one other point. If NASA is lying about what the world is, how many continents, maybe they're just lying about that, whatever it is, then it follows that we're looking at a conspiracy, an ongoing conspiracy. So why wouldn't they engineer something in order to maintain the integrity of it? No different than the moon landing. You could fake an Antarctica base landing. But I'm not necessarily saying that's my position. I'm just saying there's every incentive. So suspicion, skepticism is well-founded. Infinite Plane Radio.
Hey, what's up, Tim? How you doing?
Pretty good. What's your take on the final experiment?
Well, I think that QNP and Gibson already figured those guys out. But before I get into what I want to talk about, I'm Lieutenant Weiberg in the chat. I want to talk about the parallax view.
Oh, yes.
But I think that what happens in the sky has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. And so there's no circling sun on the AE map is the, I guess, the position I'm at on that one. How about you?
Yeah, I'm still open, to what people think. I'm still kind of shape agnostic. I think that we can't trust this particular model because it's augmented by so much science fiction. But
well, what if I told you? Well, what if I told you that obviously water can't fix to a globe, so therefore you couldn't be shape agnostic, right? So if you claim you're shape agnostic, then that would mean that you think that it's up for debate, right? So if water can't fix to anything other than one way, which is a level, then it must be a plane, right? So therefore, I'm particularly not shape agnostic.
Interesting. Well, so I'm not 100. I did watch some of his videos, Cunife's videos, but it leans toward this idea of some kind of, what do you call it, a subjective sun and moon, or is the entire celestial realm some type of individual projection?
Well, Jake used to always call into your show, right? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Jake used to always call into your show and talk to you a couple of years ago. Him and QNP's position are simply that an observer, wherever you are, observes the sun from a certain vantage point, and those can be measured. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Or not. Maybe you don't know what I mean. Do you know what I mean?
I kind of do. I kind of get it. I have to work it out though. But I've heard variants of this, and I'm more inclined to think that than the NASA generated image.
Well, yes, but what those two guys are saying is something slightly different, which is that the whole Antarctica deal, which is going on right now, is like a false dichotomy, because the circling sun on the AE map is impossible. And then for the people that are listening, they can check into that, or you can as well, you know. And then also I've noticed that, I guess QNP put a little video that he was mad at you about a month ago. Or the only people I watch are you, QNP, Fakeologist, and Gibson, right? So what I'm saying is that those guys, QNP and Gibson, are saying that the sun works in a different way. You know what I mean? And then they're using the way the sky works to describe the plane, or whether it's a globe. So if you're agnostic, that's cool. But they're saying that using the sky is maybe a little bit misleading.
Okay. And now I've got a question. So would the 24-hour sun over their heads in Antarctica, with regard to how QNFI describes it and others, does it imply there are multiple suns, or is it just a different path?
I think what they're implying, which I don't think they're able to explain, is that wherever you are, it's individual to you. So if I'm in the south tip of South America, or the south tip of South Africa, or I'm in Norway, you cannot have a sun that can be triangulated. And I think a lot of people, I'm sure you know all that stuff, right?
I've heard that it can't be triangulated. I mean, I need to see some validation on this. I've heard this claim. I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so the key is they use the SunCalc website, right? And SunCalc and some other website similar to that. But if you really are, let's say, on the bottom tip of Australia, Tanzania, and it's the winter time, the sun comes up. What would be, for the flat earthers, what they think is the ice wall, right? And then the sun sets in the ice wall. But the guys like Dave Weiss, Eric Dubé, they all say it's circling on the Tropic of Capricorn in the circle on the AE map. But what a typical viewer would see is that it simply is from, let's say, Tanzania, is the opposite direction. So that what's going on in the sky operates completely different than what was rolled out in 2014 for all of us guys that were sort of awake or not, who became flat earthers, right? So the whole thing with the experiment with this guy Will Duffy is to make people. First of all, no one is ever going to believe you're on a flat Earth. No one, absolutely no one. They're all for the rest of our lives. It probably won't happen, but I think it is. But what this is going to do is to make the people that think it might be flat look even stupider. You know what I mean? So if I'm in Tanzania, I can't see it the way Eric Dubé says. If I'm on a globe, it doesn't matter because those people already bought into the system, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I see your point. It's a big PR win for the other side, and now it's not something you could remain ambiguous about, because now you have something that it does kill the biblical flat Earth model in a lot of ways. It kills a lot of the memes, and it's this is going to be, I think, interesting to see what people do with this. Awake souls here.
Really
Awake souls
about it? Are you really agnostic about it?
I can't.
The shape of what we're on?
Well, the thing is, do we start with the assumption it's a discrete object, even floating in space? Is shape even a word we would use to describe it? And at this point, no, I don't start off with that assumption because I don't believe in, what we've been shown as far as space travel that would validate any of this. What we just saw, I'm kind of, at this point, just putting it on hold until I get more information, because you can't separate the idea of a false cosmography from an active conspiracy. So it's not like NASA got it wrong, or rather science got it wrong, and one day, like what I'm saying, like, for example, some people think that this is an oversight and the flat earthers are just trying to say, no, we got it right, you guys are wrong. No, they're not wrong. If this is a false model, it's being actively reinforced with an agenda behind it. So no, I'm slow to decide what this means. I'm just trying to get all the available information.
No, I know, I understand, and the one thing I do when I, like I said, I told you all the people I follow, you are one of them, is if there's a huge amount of people that follow them, I don't believe them. And unfortunately for guys like you, who's a great presenter, you don't have all that many people listening to you, which, sucks for you because this is basically what you do for a living. So that, sorry about that, bro.
Well, actually, our numbers have gone up. Like right now, we've got 160 on the video, and we should have another 30 or 40 on audio.
160 dudes, though, right? Or women. Hopefully, there's women listening.
Well, that's just on the live stream, and then the follow-ups we get more than 1,000 on each of these video platforms, and then the podcast. But it's not about numbers anyway. It's about quality. Do we have real skeptics coming in?
I agree with
serious
that. I agree
thinkers,
with that.
and we do have high quality, which is far superior to what if we just had let in everybody. Because the Globers may prance around like this is some kind of a win, and they're all happy about it. But you have to remember, they believe all the fake news. They're in a false worldview, regardless of whether or not they are right or aren't right about this. So they're the most brainwashed and deceived of all. It's not even conceivable to them they could be lied to at scale.
No,
so I don't envy them at all.
You can't get them, and we never will. That's not something I'm worried about. I just really wanted to know whether you were agnostic about it, which I am right now. Agnostic means you don't have enough information to even make an opinion, right? So my opinion is that it's level based on certain things I know. But, I could be wrong too. But, dude, I wanted to talk about the parallax view. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I just opened up the wiki page, Parallax View. This is a movie from 1974 with Warren Beatty. And it says here, they witnessed the assassination of a presidential aspirant at the Seattle Space Needle. Never heard of this.
No way. You've seen it, right? You've seen it or no?
No. This is new to me. I just saw the wiki.
So this was then, you've been real nice to me. I'm Lieutenant Weinberg in the chat, but my real name is Brandon. But anyway, you always respond to me since I followed you in 2022. So that's why I'm calling you, because I think you're pretty cool that way. Now, the Parallax View, I'm 48 years old. This was a movie that was big time for 70s guys like my dad and uncles and everything. And the first scene in the movie is a shot of the Space Needle, right? But I just watched it, and the reason why, because I said this in your chat the other day, is that this has been a real boring psyop year. So I said to myself, let me watch a fucking old school movies that are pretty cool, that maybe have some interest into the kind of stuff you talk about and the listeners listening now talk about. Well, anyway, the very first scene in the movie is it's kind of a Native American symbol that looks like an obelisk. And then it goes right to the Space Needle. But then the key part of the movie that I think is going on is that it scares the shit out of anybody trying to figure out that everything you're shown is fake. And it's a direct reference to JFK assassination stuff. I think this movie was in 74. And Geraldo's show came out a year ago trying to figure out, what was going on with the assassination, which I think most people that listen to you and myself think it's all crock of shit. Anyway, they bring out that Space Needle, but then the whole movie is this handsome dude, Warren Beatty, and he can sift through anything, get through every detail, and then they end up killing him in the end. And the point of the movie, for me, was that anyone who tries to get through these guys' obvious fakery is that they'll kill you. You know what I mean? And the only reason I watched it was because of you, because I was so bored that nothing was going on right now. But the main point of that movie is if you try and figure out that Elvis stuff is nonsense, some magical man will, take you down. Anyway, I just wanted to tell that to you. And I thought that was a pretty...
No, this sounds really good. Thanks for the intel here, because this this is something we consistently talk about, and this is some strange messaging about the fakery. And just a couple of months ago, Vanity Fair did this story where they found some old footage that JFK and Jackie staged his assassination 2 months before as part of a home video project. And they used the Secret Service.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that. Are you saying that's predictive programming?
Well, it wasn't ever let out to the public, but the fact that they did that, I mean, there was predictive programming, Manchurian Candidate, and several other movies leading up to it, like Suddenly. But that to me just suggested something about the fakery and their real attitude about it and how it was just a game to them. I think there's something deeper to it. But I'll take a look at this thing, Warren Beatty, the Parallax View.
And the last thing before I go is I know I've been on the line a long time. Is I watched Capricorn 1 too, which is with OJ and Josh Brolin's dad, James Brolin. It's the same thing when you try and dig down the NASA rabbit hole. The guys that are in that movie, it's all about scaring the crap out of you. It's about scaring you, so that if you ever tried to sink into that, some guy would kill you. You know. So in that movie, they end up killing OJ's wife, Brolin's wife, and the other guy that was in CSI. I can't remember his name. So both of those movies that came out in that era, if you try to be a conspiracy guy, all they're trying to tell you is some, secret man will, take you down. You know what I mean?
Wow, that sounds like Utopia, where this group of comic book nerds find out the comics are predicting future epidemics, and they end up getting assassinated one by some creepy government guy. That was interesting. Yeah, good finds there. Capricorn 1 and Parallax View, which I might just take a look at, because this JFK connection and then the Space Needle. Anything with Space Needle, I'm very keen on taking a look at, because
I have a question for you. About a couple of years ago, I texted, not text you, but I was on your chat room, and there was someone in 2012 who was following the money on the back of the dollar bills, and everyone knows the 5, the 10, and the 20 are the towers going down, and on the 50 it's gone, but on the 100, people mistakenly think that that's the Space Needle. And someone put an upload up where they thought that was the fountain in George Washington Park. Not George Washington Park, but it's called George Washington something in New York, where they put the fountain up and changed the orientation of it to reflect the ritual of whatever that event really meant. I know that everyone in the audience knows that event's horseshit, but I was always wondering what you thought on that. Whether it's not the Space Needle at all, but maybe it's that park in New York has something to do with that. You know what I mean?
It may be. A couple of things here, though. One of the things so you're talking about the $100 bill folded, and on the back, some have said, hey, it looks like the Space Needle with some kind of EMP above it. And one reason that kind of resonated with me is that the Space Needle had recently undergone this thing in 2019 called the Century Project. And so it's 100. And so I'm like, that's a lot of money going into it. And then next door to it, you have the Electronic Music Project, or EMP. So you have EMP, Century Project, and then Sonic the Hedgehog runs up the Space Needle after blowing up Seattle with bombs and like this.
Well, I've never heard you elucidate the EMP situation on that.
Oh,
I've never heard you talk about that.
And then you have that singer who sang Black Hole Sun. What's his name?
The good-looking guy that. He faked his death too.
And it was
Black
like
Hole Sun. What was that guy's name?
The statue at the EMP at Seattle, Chris Cornell, and it's a bronze sculpture.
And it's a CC name too, yeah.
So Chris Cornell, Black Hole Sun, EMP, Space Needle, Sonic, the $100 bill, and then in Free Guy, when they reset Free City, the guy's wearing a $100 bill on his shirt. And then there was a $100 bill reference in Megalopolis, where there's there's just these numerous connections I've seen with Space Needle and the $100 bill and the Century Project, which I thought this could be like the subject of a major psyop, and it's a significant architectural feature that maybe could be comparable to the Twin Towers as far as being iconic?
Yeah. Well, I'll leave you with this. The one thing I found you on about 5 years ago was your 3-part series on NASA and the obelisk, and I didn't know who you were, and I listened to that, and it was it was profound to me anyway. And I thought you were, solid presenter. And then I was thinking, obviously now in boring times, this year I thought was pretty weak for psyops. If you if a guy like you broke down a few individual events, maybe, I don't know if this is real or anything, but if you just broke down a few events that everyone remembered, you can go, this is what this shit means. That maybe, it maybe bring more people to understand the kind of stuff you're talking about. But that was meant more as a compliment to you.
I appreciate it. Actually, someone in Gilded said to me that if I want to start putting together some content, documentary style, that he would offer up some help in editing and maybe consolidating some content. And I think you're right on with that. And that is one of my objectives for the starting of the year, is putting together what I call IPR deep dives, where we just take one topic, focus on it, go into the nuance, and then make it something that anybody could contemplate without having any background with this channel.
Yeah. So I agree with whoever that person was, and I'm a person that listens to you. I'm the dude that's Lieutenant Weinberg in the chat. My name's Brandon. Anyway, I enjoy listening to you. Oh, can you tell me one more thing? So I've, in the last 10 years, I like to pretend that I'm awake, but I listen to Q and P and Jake and you and Fakeologist. What the hell did you do to Q and P to make you so pissed off at you? Because he made this video about you. I don't know what it was about. Or he said something about somebody. Was there anything with that, or why did he get so pissed off at you?
Because I booted him out of Discord, and the reason why is I got complaints in the middle of the night because he had, I don't know if he was drunk, but he went on a long tear, and he just ethnic slurs, references to orifices, and so I was just like, okay, he'll understand, and I'll let him back in. But no, he took it too personally. But it's like, look.
Well, the reason why I ask is because there's only a few people, tomorrow I'm going to go back to my slave job, and I got a wife and kid and everything, and then there's only 4 people I know that actually can see through some shit, and you're one of them, and thank you. It gives me entertainment, and in your case, entertainment is not propaganda, at least I hope. So
cool.
So no. So
yeah, no, look, we're on good terms. Cunife made that video, but I didn't respond, because I don't have any problem with them, so I didn't even care to even watch it. I'm like, okay, it's just a misfiring, and he's not someone I care to get into anything other than constructive dialogue with, because we're few compared to the many of people who can be convinced of anything, and so I'm not going to shoot one of our own. So thanks for calling. Appreciate it very much.
All right, thank you, brother. Bye.
All right, Lieutenant Weinberg, thank you. And we have a new movie on our watch list, and this is The Parallax Corporation, about an assassination, Seattle Space Needle, and fakery. Big fakery. I'll have to dig into this one. Infinite Plane Radio.
Hey, dude, this is Jurassic Liars.
Hey, what's up? Did you catch what we were just talking about? Space Needle?
Yeah, I've talked, by the way, I have told you about that parallax view many times. You just forgot. But the parallax view, it has the presidential candidate being assassinated in the Space Needle, right? But what's important about that is that it was released on Trump's birthday.
Okay.
That movie.
Okay, and I was going to mention Trump's birthday because who is it? Shia LaBeouf, who was in Megalopolis, was hanging upside down in front of an American flag, like crucified by a bunch of MAGAs, it was Make Rome Great Again. Okay, here we go. So this movie, Space Needle, Trump's birthday. I haven't watched it though, so it's totally new.
And by the way, I'm the guy who came up with the Space Needle on the $100 bill. I was the one who came up with that, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Very good. Look, I came across that on some video in like 2019, and everybody started talking about Seattle's going to be ground zero for some nuke. And nothing happened on 11/3, which they were predicting. But then 3/11,
Right.
it was the ground zero for the pandemic. But
Right.
the Space Needle is still in my sights for a lot of reasons. It's a very significant symbol for on an occult level. But in terms of these psyops, there's so many things pointing to it.
Look, basically, it's Washington State that's going to get struck on June 11th, Washington State. And they're probably going to crack the Elvis head off, like I've been telling you, because that's why they were calling it the chop zone, And because Elvis's head is over there,
They're going to cleave land. Like, I get the subtext. Like, this is storytelling on a deep level. It's like spell.
Right.
It really is. And it's I don't know. Its time is up. And I think this is going to have to be the year as far as what you've described, as far as 6/11 and 8/4. This would have to be it.
Yeah. And just one thing before we... who went to this Antarctic that was a YouTuber? Who was there?
Jeranism, Witsit, Gets It, and McToon. And then a few others. And then...
and who paid for it? Who paid for it?
This guy named Pastor Will Duffy, and then Candace Owens. Candace Owen, her producer was there as well. So it's an interesting group of people.
Dude, let me just say something. And anyone who trusts that, you're brain dead. Okay? Those dudes are nothing but frauds, every single one of them. Okay, especially Jeranism. He's the biggest piece of trash, that Jeranism. All right, I don't care what it starts. He's going to burn in hell, that piece of garbage. But I don't know about all the other people. I don't know those guys, so I don't know. But I know that anybody who was involved in this Antarctic crap, because I was telling people that if anyone goes there, 100% they're not going to find nothing. Because they would not let you there if they were going to find something that was going to change it, because they're not there, dude. I don't believe it. I will never believe it. And they can't get me to believe it. Just like you said, that it could be a big set. I don't know, and I don't care if it is or it isn't. I don't even know where these people are. How do they even know where they're at?
Look, they faked a moon landing. They could fake them. And look, I was also thinking, they're going to fake moon bases. They're going to fake Mars bases. How do you think they're going to do it? They're going to do it with these movie sets that have background LED screens and a full cast of actors. So this is well within the purview of NASA fakery to pull something like this off in order to enforce their perspectives. And I just find it all questionable just because of who's involved. And I'm not moving the goalpost. We're talking about somebody who faked ISS transits, who is in a Netflix hit piece, and now we're supposed to just trust him. Witsit Gets It. I don't have anything that would make me not trust him necessarily, but all of these debates are straw man debates. It's always this false dilemma, and they never talk about the real pressing thing they should be debating, which is news fakery at large. So no, it's kind of irrelevant for a lot of reasons, but
and as far as the 24-hour sun and all that stuff, none of that matters. What matters is, do we live on is the Earth a spinning ball or not? There is no way that the whole Earth itself is a spinning ball. The Earth is not, it doesn't move. But if there was any part of the Earth that, that would move, it would be like a record player. Record player has 4 corners, and then in the middle, it could spin around the, what do they call that? The pole. Like a record has a pole that sticks up.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, to me, and who is the prince of the power of the air is Satan, who is Lucifer. Lucifer who became Satan. So what I'm saying is, isn't it funny that they would mock through music the record player looking like what the Earth could be? I'm just saying, because
I've seen that comparison, and I'd also point out that I think there needs to be some kind of expedition to the North Pole, because I'm with Mercator and John D. that there's some kind of 33-mile circumference black magnetic mountain at the center of this thing, and that's more important to me. I want to see if that exists, because
Yeah.
I have every indication it does, because this Gerardus Mercator actually mapped it out and put it in a letter. Why would I say that's not true if we're going to go with the Mercator projection otherwise? So I need to know what's in the middle more than anything. That'll provide some useful information.
I'm not saying it moves. I said if it moves, it would be like a record player where the middle part moves and the outer part doesn't move. But you know what I mean, like a four corners of the earth type of thing. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I've seen some concepts of the world like that. In fact, interestingly enough, I mentioned John Dee. And so even though he was an advisor to Mercator, who's going on these voyages of exploration, John Dee's personal cosmography, he believed that the world had four corners, and that these 30 layers of, like, he called them ethers, like that multiple dimensions overlapping. But he maintained that our experience is a realm that could be described as a board with four corners. And his entire magical system and his whole paradigm was based on this, which is strange considering that he's also advising this guy who's confirming a ball. But regardless, it's not a new idea. I've heard this before.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to make sure that I tell you guys this, that my two predictions is June 11th and August 4th, right? June 11th, Washington State, August 4th, Trump gets his head wound, right? And check this. In 3 days, you just like I predicted something would happen before Trump went to Butler. Remember, I told you guys that something would happen, that Rocket Man event?
Yes.
And Elon ended up showing up for there. But he goes back to Butler, Pennsylvania. Listen to this. On 12/19, which is in 3 days, there's some type of event, predictive programming event that's going to happen. And so we'll see. Let's just see if anything happens on that day. Predictive programming doesn't have to happen. Because with predictive programming, you can never know whether it's actually going to. But as far as my two real predictions, which is June 11th and August 4th, that has to happen. There's no way to stop those.
Yeah, and let's mention this. You mentioned these numbers in tandem since the beginning. And Trump was specifically shot on 6/11. I'm sorry, at 6:11 p.m. And so that right there brings up that number. Then 84 days later, he goes back to the place. So 8/4, 6/11 are consistently paired together with this particular thing. So it is very consistent. And yeah, go ahead.
Good. And the fact that he did a moment of silence for it, that's what was crazy, right? And the reason he did that is, see, that's why they had to have a death at that ear clipped day. The day he got his ear clipped, they had to have a death because they had to have a moment of silence and make it a point for him to say, at this time, it's 6/11, we're going to have a moment of silence, and 12 weeks to the day, which is 84 days. He even mentions 12 weeks, which is 84 days, but he says 6/11, and he says 12 weeks, which is 84 days. See, so both predictions right there in what he's saying.
Right. And as far as predictive programming also, which remember we had this Luigi shooting the CEO, and as you pointed out, the hotel, 47 stories, McDonald's, the address was 407. There were a number of conspicuous 47s attached to this idea of a CEO being shot. And I think that's all foreshadowing for America's CEO and the incoming assassin.
Yeah, and don't forget the 47 floors on the third building, in 9/11.
Yeah, very key number.
Yeah.
So you said 12/19, mark your calendars, December 19th, something is predicted.
Yeah, possible predictive programming connecting to my predictions or connecting to Priscilla Presley, something to do with the birthday of, you'll see what I'm talking about in my video. I did a video already about it of 2 months ago. I've been waiting 2 months for this, so let's see what happens. And one other thing. You know that the whole reason that Trump did the fight thing, I have a new thing on that I want to talk about.
Well, one, it connects to Gabby Gifford and her head wound and her subsequent death resurrection.
Right. So the FFF is the 666, which I mentioned on the very day it happened, and that it connects to Gabby Gifford, who got her head wound on Elvis's birthday, right? And And he referenced Gabby Giffords, who got the head wound when he did the fight. But what's important here is, besides that, is besides the fact that the Beast Quake was that day in Seattle also, and the fact that he got his ear clipped at 6'11", so every single piece of the puzzle connects to each other here. The 6'11" he mentioned, the fight, which is the 666, and Gabby Giffords, and it happened on Elvis's birthday, Seattle Beast Quake that day. But here's the part that connects also to Trump resurrecting. So I have been telling everyone that Trump gets his head wound on August 4th. They pronounce him dead, and then 4 days later, on 8/8, which is the Lions Gate Portal Day, 8/8, that he comes back 4 days later like Lazarus, okay? And Gabby Giffords, you know that Obama went and visited her when she was in a coma. As soon as Obama left, she opened her eyes, and Obama's born on August 4th, the day Trump's going to get his head wound. So the key here is that he came and she opened her eyes as soon as he left. And how many days after did she open her eyes? 4 days. See, it was Elvis's birthday, and on 1/12 she woke up. See?
Yes.
You see that?
And this Obama connection is intrinsic to this scenario. Two big movies. One of them was A Man in Full, based on Trump. Admittedly, they repurposed a Tom Wolfe novel to be about Trump. And the mayor who orchestrates his downfall, this Chicago mayor, is clearly based on Obama. And then Megalopolis, the mayor, orchestrates the assassination attempt on the Trump character, who gets the head wound, his right eye is taken out, and then 3 days later he comes back after some miracle. So in these two movies, you have an Obama mayor character taking out the Trump guy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, like, you know, there's a lots of predictive programming on this, man. And and about the drone stuff, that's what I was calling. The drone thing, do you know that the very first time that I mentioned that Trump would get his head wound, because I started talking about it in late 2017 and early 2018, that he would get his head wound on August 4th. But I was talking about it, I'm talking about the dates when it came to me. I was already talking about it before Trump even got in office. But in late 2017, early 2018, when I had the dates, the very first time the dates came around, the August 4th Trump head wound, you know what happened on August 4th, 2018?
No, what was that?
It was the presidential assassination attempt of the Venezuelan president.
Oh, yes. Okay. I recall that now.
And how was it? How was it done?
Wasn't that a drone? Yes.
Yes. And that's why I was talking about it even back then, that this is how they're probably going to get to Trump, with drones, you know.
There you have it.
But that was back then.
August 4th.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the 4/8 thing is huge. August 4th.
Mm-hmm.
8/4. And I'm watching the series called The Boys, the Homelander character based on Trump, and they changed the title of the season finale, 4/8, season 4, episode 8, from Assassination Run to something else, because it so closely mirrored at the same time what happened with the Trump head wound thing. But I find that the 4/8/8/4 is consistently in these finales, and it's consistently alluding to this scenario. So this doesn't surprise me. President of Venezuela cracked his drone.
Right, and he was born one day after JFK's death date. I mean, he was born on 11/23, but not the same year. But 11/23, which is one day after 11/22. But
good finds there. Good finds there. And the drone thing, obviously, Iran has been hinted at in the golf course, and that's why I thought the guy Ryan, his name was kind of an anagram for Iran on the golf course. But yeah, that's in play. And then Trump today came out and said there's something going on with drones, and so he wouldn't go to his place in Bedminster, Jersey.
Yeah, this the whole drone thing. Anyone, just what you said earlier about the drones. Anyone who's like talking about this as if it's something real is insane. You know.
Yeah, exactly. They're reality impaired, and it's everywhere. Everyone just falls for this stuff because they're gullible. But thanks for the information, and
all right, man.
Thank you for the call.
All right, take care.
All right, that's Jurassic Liars. He has 2 predictions, 611 and 84. So according to Tomonoid 3, the Luigi character, the voice actor, is the guy from the conspiracy meme. Charlie Day, conspiracy meme recreated with Luigi. Okay, so you all know the conspiracy guy. Well, he does the voice of Luigi, which is kind of intriguing considering how this Luigi character has been turned into the subject of a number of conspiracy theories. Most of it misinformation and noise, but it's there. Okay, now there was something else here in the comments that drew my attention. Oh, yes. And this is also from Tomonoid. Luigi's mansion had a ghost gun. So I mentioned this the other day, that the movie The Madness preceded the shooting. And the movie The Madness not only preceded the shooting and had predictive programming, but had concurrent programming. It's so close. You couldn't even call it predictive. It's like you're watching Netflix, the #1 show. You turn on CNN or Fox or any of these big news media outlets, and you're getting the same story. So in this one, you have, of course, in the Madness, you have the vigilante and the CEO getting killed. But one of the themes in this is 3D printed guns, ghost guns. So CEO suspect had a 3D printed gun. And then from the Madness, the main character meets an anarchist group and they are shooting 3D printed guns. And here's a gun pointed at the head of a CEO representing Musk. Meanwhile, an image of Musk with a gun pointed at him is going viral on Blue Sky. And the Madness series, #1 show. That's why it was relevant to watch. So it had this theme, class warfare, the working class versus the elite, and then the elite billionaires stealing the election, basically, by financing right-wing Nazi shit posters on Twitter. And the leader of the white power group, one of the big leaders, one of the big voices on the internet, goes by Brother 14, turns out to be a perfect doppelganger of Stu Peters. And then there's Laura Simmons, who's a journalist and conspiracy theorist in The Madness, who looks and acts just like Laura Loomer. So these aren't accidental connections. Interestingly, too, Dave Franco has been trending because he looks so much like the shooter. Dave Franco trends as Luigi Mangione sparks uncanny resemblance. And another connection here is Dave Franco played the Riddler in Young Justice. And of course, the CEO shooter is templated off of the Riddler, templated off of the Joker. There's a correlation between these two. And then you could also connect the Riddler to Thomas Crook, the Trump shooter, the Enigma. And Thomas Crook, the physical actor who played him, looks exactly like the Riddler. And in one of the final scenes in Batman, the Riddler is singing Ave Maria, and Batman's pounding on the glass, asking him, "What did you do?" And during the moment of silence, when Trump went back to Butler, that song was being sung. So it's kind of another deep connection. But anyway, they have merged real and fake perfectly. And it's all by design. People had believed in the story. They already decided it was true. They already side with the character who's like Joker, who's like Travis Bickle. They already took sides before the story happened. And then you have people dressing up like him, just like in the Joker movie. The Kill the Rich movement, clown vigilantes. They're dressing up like the Joker, just like they're dressing up like the shooter. Again, we talked about this the other day, just kind of reiterating a few things here. The idea that this is justice, not murder. But the 3D printed ghost gun also ties into Luigi. Awake Souls said, Ron asked you to have a live stream on our channel. If you want, you should hit him up. Yeah, let's go ahead. I was trying to reach out to him before the final experiment, but yeah, now would be fine. We'll get into it. Jurassic Liars is going live next. Awesome. I'll put a link All right, let's continue. We are going over the fallout after the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, talking about the new fake shooting in Wisconsin, distracting everybody from the fake drones. And yeah, Trump canceled his trip to New Jersey. He said the government knows what's happening. Something strange is going on. And as I said earlier, the Jersey drone panic demonstrates that you can't trust eyewitnesses. And alternative media is 99% clickbait sensationalism. And the reason why people fall for everything is training. As Frank Herbert said, Dune Messiah, they're not mad, they're trained to believe, not to know. Belief can be manipulated, only knowledge is dangerous. So people are turned into believers. But who didn't fall for the drone psyop? That's just pretty sad. Someone mentioned this again. Luigi's lawyer is married to Diddy's lawyer. Not sure what that means. Someone said, have you heard of the 286 connection to Luigi? People are talking about it on TikTok. Apparently, the number 286 is making a lot of appearances in the story, and Elon Musk made a cameo in the movie Transcendence about a scientist who transplants his consciousness into an AI after he dies. Two separate things, but there were a number of connections with the number 286 in the Luigi story that was taken by a lot of people in InfoWars to be indications that we're in a simulation. Turns out that all those connections were fake. It's just noise. Somebody's throwing some disinformation. So those of us who are noticing patterns just look crazy. And they connect it to AI. And Musk is one of the leading purveyors of this AI concept. He popularized it, him and Joe Rogan, more than anybody else. So here's the list of things. So Luigi had 286 posts on X, area code 286. He had Pokemon character number 286. And apparently the denial code is generic. The McDonald's is 279 miles, not 286. And the receipt was fake. And the Spotify account wasn't his. So all fake. So who's manufacturing fake evidence like this and then popularizing it? Why does the fake stuff get put on blast? Does that make any sense to anyone? Why is it the fake stuff is what we're seeing? And so people are looking at this 286 thing and they're saying, we're in a simulation. We're in a video game. It's just like the drone believers. They're inclined to believe what they want to be true. So you have this spreadsheet with all these, and this is like one of our mind maps, but it's like a mockery. We're pointing out patterns that exist. These instances of the number at best could be described as a Texas sharpshooter fallacy. At worst, it's some kind of misdirection campaign. But what would be the point? And then again, why would something so fake be highlighted? And the people who highlight it, by the way, have no indication that any of it's fake. So you're not even talking about skeptics when you're looking at this stuff. Isabel Ann says, I have friends in New Jersey freaking out they're being radiation poisoned. Yeah, they're being told they're going to be nuked. They're being told a lot of things. It's like, get in your basements then. Start watching Friends, starting at the beginning. Behold the End War live. So again, we talked about the shooting, and there were people doing a drill nearby. Medics were already practicing and rehearsing, so they went and saved lives for real. What people want to believe is more important than truth, which turns them into liars. And sadly, many self-professed truthers have crossed that line. Many of them are liars. More so by default. But one point I highlighted today is that if you're not actively rejecting lies, you kind of absorb them by default. That's what I mean when I say the public has mind aids. They're not actively engaging with the mind viruses and fighting them off, but they're just passive receptacles, eminently infectable by anything coming from the government. So, Life of Mr. on Twitter says, you can see the reflection in the glasses. Shows for unaccounted for individuals. Talking about the final experiment. They're at an off-site camp, perhaps in Alaska. There's no cold breath fog. So again, I'm going over the various takes on this, and yeah, some people think that maybe the event is being staged somewhere. Again, and this is useful, especially if you're in New Jersey. Autohoaxology Axiom 35, moving lights in the sky are airplanes until proven otherwise. And this is an article I put out just to give you an idea. I think this was about 2 or 3 months ago. This is back in July. What do Bigfoot, UFOs, and space stations have in common? And I was describing this as maybe Bigfoot logic, where ambiguous claims or divine fallacies are used to throw in to the realm of possibility as a possible explanation something that doesn't belong. And in order to eliminate the maybe space station, the maybe Bigfoot logic, I suggested that let's just, as a rule, make it axiomatic that any light in the sky must be considered an airplane until proven otherwise. It's not airplane, maybe Bigfoot. It's not airplane, maybe UFO. No, it's airplane until proven otherwise. You can't throw in things that you want to be true. So here's Adam Kinzinger, and he spent a couple of days studying the issue, and he says that unequivocally, there were no drones.
The threat here. And look, honestly, every video I've seen, and I've spent the last couple of days looking at every one of these videos, every video I have seen on Twitter or on the internet are all airplanes. They're literally all airplanes. Some of them will show an airplane that's kind of stable out there and says that's a drone. And actually, it's an airplane flying towards you at 30,000 feet, and I can see the lighting on it. And if there are drones out there, by the way, and if any of these pictures that they have shown are actual drones, these drones then are complying with FAA lighting requirements, a green on the right, a red on the left with a strobe. And so it's not Iran, it's not aliens if there are drones. My guess is if there are drones, again, because again, all I've seen are airplanes.
And what's more, a lot of the claims that have been made, even people saying they're shining lasers at these things, they're able to match it up with flight tracking websites. So there's that. Now, as far as what's going to happen in the next few days, there's a movie coming out called Homestead and another movie. I think they both pertain to the nuke scenario. So I'm not sure what we're looking forward to in the next few days, but all right, let's see what else we have here. Just going to scroll through my Twitter feed. Again, the drone thing was an embarrassment, but I think it's over, or I thought it was over, but Trump has kind of invigorated it. He said there's something going on. But yes, Trutherville jumped the shark. Anybody who is promoting the whole drone story, they're reality impaired. Here is Rosie O'Donnell, and she says that these are being observed globally and that no country can control them and that it might be aliens and that the government doesn't want us to know. And I know people who believe this now.
Now, can we stop calling them drones? They're obviously UFOs, people. Come on. It's all over the world now. It's not just in a little thing in New Jersey. Just saw one from China today. It's all over the world. What do you think? That some country, Iran, has the capacity and the capability to monitor and fly these drones all over the world at the same time? Doing the maneuvers that they're doing? I mean, not trying to scare everybody, but they're here. They're here. And the powers that be don't want to acknowledge that because that leaves them with a higher authority. Nobody's going to care about Trump or Putin or all of the strong men in the world who are dictators and cruel.
So what are you hearing here? Rosie O'Donnell wants aliens to save us from Trump, to save us from Putin. It's notable that the right wing perceives aliens as demons. One of them scratched and scarred the back of Tucker Carlson. Said aliens are demons, they're working with the government, they're working with the deep state. So you have this narrative from the right that you're looking at a deception, Project Bluebeam. Roseanne Barr said, it's Project Bluebeam. So the right wing sees aliens as synonymous with deception and Satan. And the left wingers say, this is our savior. You know, technological progress evolved them, and now it's like the future us, and maybe they're going to save us. And so here she is with her kind of copium here, but suggesting that maybe this is going to save her from Trump.
All of the strong men in the world who are dictators and cruel and evil, no, they're not going to have the power that they had if this is true. The aliens are here, and they're obviously superior to us in many, many ways. Let's hope they don't want to just, blow us up.
All right. Hope they don't blow us up. Peter W. says spray vinegar to keep the drones away. That might work. If you spray vinegar, according to like Ron Paul voters, and they used to do this, they spray the sky, it gets rid of chemtrails. And chemtrails could just be there to cover up the aliens. I'm thinking about this. What purpose do chemtrails serve? Because if chemtrails were real, we would all be dead by now. But we don't even mask up for it. So I don't even think it's poison. It's likely a shield. So chemtrails hide the aliens. So if you want to prevent the alien drones from showing up over your head, you just got to get rid of their cover. And for that, you spray or boil vinegar. So I've heard. Let's see here. Yes, I talked about this earlier. Jim Brewer had Craig McNeil, the anti-flat earth guy. I wish McToon would release his rap separate. But they're really pleased with themselves at this point. But you have to remember these individuals are still reality impaired. They don't know the news is fake. They're more clueless than not. Anyone can perform zero gravity in their backyard. So if you look at this video, he's doing things with fruit and water bottles and objects that look exactly like you would see on the ISS. And there are some people who will point to special effects on the space station and say, this could only be performed in zero G. And I would say this kind of flies against that. Anything you've ever been shown on the space station could be performed in your backyard, because we're talking about special effects. Armin Reese says, did the guys in Antarctica see any drones over there, or only real aliens? Yeah, I was hoping it would be a sun simulator, like someone had suggested. Like, I was hoping it would be some kind of helicopter with some... I don't know what these sun simulators are, but yeah, some kind of object that simulates the sun, goes in a big circle. Would have been comical. Esteban says, the grifter of grifters, his website looks like a NASCAR driver outfit. Crow and his goofy team. Hey, check this out. It says, hug your loved ones. It's happening. Breaking. This is a map of all of the drones currently over the eastern United States. Obviously, they're being facetious, but it does show you an idea. Just this is how many planes you have over your head right now. And if somebody's looking for a plane, they're going to see it. ABC News was literally convinced that Venus was a drone. Okay, anyway, the cloud cover is going to likely preclude any more fake drone sightings. We have a new school shooter to talk about, so that's probably done. And the Luigi story has somewhat died down, but I don't think it's over yet. So I'll continue to follow up on that story now that we know that his attorney is married to Diddy's attorney. To me, that's very suggestive of both these things being hoaxes. Here's a comment from Pete Trippa the other day. These drone stories, and people are freaking out about it, reminds me of the original radio broadcast War of the Worlds, where the aliens land in Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Okay, an unincorporated village in West Windsor, New Jersey. And the people believe the broadcast and start evacuating. Orson Welles directed and narrated it as though it were a real occurrence. and he took his idea from the Ronald Knox radio hoax, which attempted the same propaganda trick. It was broadcast with many interruptions, news bulletins, war sirens, and dramatic music. Back in 1938. Anyway, I've been back to the park where the fictional first alien spacecraft landed in Grover, New Jersey, way before I was into the fringe stuff now. And everything about the drones and aliens, enemy, aircraft, future time travelers, military drill reminds me of War of the Worlds. To me, it's mostly BS propaganda, but it's fun to watch people react to it. Yeah, no doubt. Very good find there, though. I didn't know this. War of the Worlds, a New Jersey connection. Now, the lockdowns in America started in Hoboken, New Jersey. I don't know what that means, but there's the Jersey connection. All right, phones are open, 505-510-4226 for a few more minutes here. I wanted to continue to go through my tweets. I tend to bookmark useful things. So it's IPS Insider. You can also get archives here, and you can listen live. Albatross Banter said, "Listen not to Jeranism and Nitwitsit, lest we forget Descartes could not prove he lived in France." Right. I'm not a reality denialist. I'm not going to deny facts. I'm not going to deny evidence. And I will account for new evidence, even if it upsets a present level of understanding or assumed understanding. I'm quick to admit when I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I mean, honestly, if I could be proved, if they could prove everything to me, to my satisfaction, fake space travel and all that, it wouldn't bother me. Like, I'm not attached to the idea that space is fake. I'm just pointing out facts, that space travel is largely augmented by special effects in science fiction, and it represents some kind of utopianism, a utopian paradise that they've constructed for the masses, a new heaven, that all the other heavens kind of fit beneath. Like, it's a big umbrella religion, Nasatology. I do not believe in Nasatology, and I reject their God construct. I reject their globe construct as such, because it's a bigger issue than shape or geography. It's about worldview. It's about mental terrain. It's a philosophical crisis. That's what we are confronting here. I wonder how many people are going to jump from flat to geocentric. Look, this is the Goodyear blimp. They put "don't shoot" on their digital billboard. And that's because people were confusing the Goodyear blimp with a drone. You'd think people have never looked up before. Like, all of a sudden. But this is typical. This is what I expect. Low information believers. A New Jersey pilot claims he experienced a mysterious power failure as he approached a drone. This sounds like something out of Close Encounters or one of these movies.
There was a lot of drone activity in the East Hanover area, which backs up to Morristown Airport and all that vicinity. So we head out there. We set up in a parking lot about a quarter mile away from the airport. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to get flight clearance to take the drone up and see what this other drone is, and I cannot. Restricted. I tried to bypass it. At one point, it even asked for my phone number. And I said, no, I think we're good at this point.
All right. Again, I think it's all crisis actors. Another account, this is another one here, it says, Iran is enraged by the U.S. government overthrow of Syria. It's planning a massive strike in D.C. and New York. That's why these drones are flying around seeking hidden nuclear devices on the East Coast. So you have this video that shows what it purports to be drones. However, these are just regular airplanes. And I'm seeing these being shared right now, like, hey, America, look at this. So you can know what you're looking at. The red and the green light are position lights, anti-collision lights. You got landing lights, logo lights, alternating landing lights. So there's all kinds of lights that would give away that it's a plane. It's crazy that we even have to spend time on this. Here's Nathan Oakley.
24-hour daylight. I mean, the way I explain it is the daylight is similar to like in Norway and Alaska, and obviously that, is 18, 20 hours, and then
I'm curious to see what his response to McToon is. I think McToon was a little rude, but it's just been this common canard among the flat Earth debaters that there is no access to Antarctica, and that's a false premise in and of itself. But the discussion of what Antarctica is it a singular continent, whatever, these are all separate topics. But now we have a reason for this conversation to advance, and it's a huge spanner in the works for anybody who is attached to any particular model. So I'm very curious to see what Awake Souls has to think about it. I'll reach out to them and try to get on their show in the next day or so. Peter W. says, I was thinking the drone story would calm down. It seems to be getting bigger. Yeah, well, Trump just threw some accelerant on it. Said he's not going to Bedminster because of it. So they're hyping it up for a reason. And then we just heard Rosie O'Donnell is hoping that it's aliens that will get rid of Trump or stop Trump from being inaugurated. So you have that. And the idea that the aliens will unite us all, you just get rid of that notion. It's partisan. Right-wingers are already prepped to shoot at aliens. I've been saying this for some time, that they're going to come out with their Trump flags, their MAGA hats, and their shotguns, and they're going to shoot the flying saucers. I said this back when Tucker first said aliens were demons. And I noticed this dichotomy where they're demons to the right, saviors to the left. So it doesn't surprise me at all that loony like Rosie O'Donnell would look at the drones as possibly saviors from Trump. So interesting how that's going to break down. There's not going to be unity, obviously. It's just another contentious, part of this schismatic system. That's why Trump's behind Space Force. Sharon Peters, yes, Jurassic Liars called in. He had some things to add about this this movie called The Parallax View. In fact, I think he's live right now. Armin Rees says, the best angle in the narrative I see for the drones thing is if they're identified as Iranian due to the Perseus Andromeda Cetus myth. Haven't looked into that, but there is a lot of buildup for the drones coming from Iran, and they had that little video where they they got Trump on a golf course. So we talked about the final experiment. Drone hysteria. Joe Rogan concerned by drones. They're thinking some of all fears. McToon, big mad, and a new school shooter. So it's kind of a slow news week, but there's some indications that things may speed up. And if Jurassic Liars points at 12/19 as a possible day for a plot twist, I think it's worth looking. He has a pretty good track record, and 12/19 does seem to fit around the time of the release of, I think it's called The Homestead, which is like a prepper movie, but it has to do with, here it is, Homestead, coming December 20th. So I may check this one out. And Homestead is about a nuclear bomb detonated in Los Angeles. Upcoming American post-apocalyptic drama film. This is going to be out in just a few days. So that's what's out on. And again, if it's number one, if it's popular, if it's heavily promoted, it, as a rule, will contain programming or predictions, foreshadowing, and deliberate allusions to whatever's about to happen in the news. You can actually tell the future when you go watch these movies. In fact, I have a great example of this. This was on October the 2nd. Megalopolis pre-review. So before I watched it, I did a pre-review under this notion that we're looking at propaganda designed to lead people to certain conclusions in advance of incoming news events. And Megalopolis has to do with the fall of Rome, America as Rome. Gladiator 2 just came out. Same story. America, Rome, about to fall. So a Russian satellite falling to Earth is a major component of Megalopolis, and right around the time that it came out, a Russian satellite breaks up, creating debris in low Earth orbit. It says the International Space Station crew had to take shelter because of it. So here's your Russian satellite hurtling down toward Earth. So here's what I put down in my pre-review. I said, I suspect it'll be about the West, the Tower of Babel. The film will foreshadow the next 9/11, this one that scatters the internet, ends international cooperation, and then inaugurates a new order. Basically, this idea of the fall of Rome, but specifically this fall of the West and everything being rebuilt. And this was just based on the trailer and this concurrent news event of the fallen Russian satellite. Well, having watched the movie, it's exactly about that. It's MAGA, but it's Make Rome Great Again. Satellite hits New York at 9/11's it. And the movie ends where they replace the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States with the Pledge of Allegiance to humanity. So it is a movie about all the world uniting after a 9/11-esque event. But I predicted that would be the case just based on the trailer and its other connections to the big psyops. Pengu33 says, if you want to see the 24-hour sun in Norway, you got to be at 70 degrees north. Yeah, I'm far more interested in somebody going to the North Pole. Not the purported North Pole, but the one where you have the magnetic rock, according to, not me, according to Mercator and John Dee. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, this is from 1620, Gerardus Mercator's map of the Arctic showing the black rock at the North Pole surrounded by 4 large islands, 33 French miles in circumference. I don't know what to make of it, but he wrote about it, talked about it in a letter between himself and John Dee. I think it's intriguing. If fictional, it's even more interesting. Like, why would you make that up? How can we trust the rest of your map if you're going to make up some crazy thing like this? But it does comport with a lot of stuff that we see in symbolism, in various allusions to this in certain movies. So it's not like it's a new idea, but I'm more interested in that than whatever they just did. All right, this has been great. Let me go ahead and look at the numbers really quick just to see where we're at. So we're definitely well over 200 tonight. I think the other night we reached closer to 400. I think our numbers are going to continue to go up, and I'm considering starting a early morning live stream, the IPS morning deprogram, which I wanted to do before, and I have an open schedule now. I'm thinking about doing that, but making these videos available, like I said before, for members of the channel. So I want to say thanks to all of you who are subscribers, who are staying up to date and involved in this think tank. We've been doing this for a long time, and I think we're improving our methodologies. We're not falling for anything. We're not falling for any of these mass panics or these hysterical trends. So those are not drones. This is not a simulation. And the Luigi Mangione shooter is a live action role player, not a LARPer. And that last shooting, likely fake, body count assumed to be 0. I haven't even looked into it, but just based on the fact that there was a concurrent drill down the street. Like, to me, that's pretty much evidence enough that it's hoaxy. No reason to believe it without any further evidence. And then the shooter having a shirt connecting to other mass shooters, that's just too much. The burden of proof is no longer mine. Mass media can have it back, provide evidence, or I'm just going to operate on the premise that it's fake until proven real. Nick Fingar says the morning program show should be called the pre-program. I may do that. Now, if you're subscribed to the newsletter at ips.monster or on Patreon, you will get live notifications. So make sure you're subscribed in case I'm able to start that off tomorrow. This is Chief Crow, Auto Hoax, or GTFO.